got a
fact
name
check,
for 'em?
in your Eastern Michigan days, they were the Detroit Shock, and they were
The
coached
Shock.
by Detroit basketball legend, Mr. Bill Lambier.
Yes, Lambier was coaching.
Mhm.
I can't remember the name, but Lambier was the coach. Yeah, I remember they were getting a lot of, because Lambier was coaching them, Cooper was coaching for the Lakers, was coaching the Sparks. We had a lot of those former NBA guys who were all coaching around. Thanks for looking it up for me, because I'm like, what is the name? Like,
I remember Lambert, but I couldn't remember the Shock. I knew Lambert was his head coach. Yeah,
they were down the street. I went to a game. I went to a finals game. I don't even remember what I watched. I just was there at the time because nobody was invested. Shout out to WNBA, because y'all are doing a hell of a lot better job, because there's no way in hell I could get a free ticket right now to the WNBA finals this year. I wish I could, but I know it's not coming. Unless y'all here that y'all want to send us, or y'all want to lock in Jay's bets from earlier, then go ahead. If you hit, go ahead, send us some free tickets to the WNBA championship. Squad up! Episode 113. Let's get to business. I got my guys with me. Stanley Cup Mike. Yeah, he's hoping for the Stanley Cup. I got Grandpa Jay with me, and I'm Trey Day. How did week go for y'all, fellas?
Boy, what a start to the week.
Yeah.
Summer camp madness, bro.
Yeah, it's going okay. I would really have liked the Rangers to, have won game 4 and be securely in the lead of this series, but we'll take 2-2, I suppose.
They got to make you sweat a little bit. That's what they got to do.
A little bit. They never said it'd be easy.
That's right.
Now, I know everybody views us normally as like, wait a minute, something's off. Where's John at? Unfortunately, John couldn't be with us this week. He's out trying to recruit 2- and 3-star prospects for that team up north. They're going to need some help this year. So John's somewhere, I don't know exactly where in the country, but, what's got Sharon Moore, he's going to need some new 2-star prospects. But y'all can catch John on the socials. He'll be back next week like usual. Make sure anybody who's watching, like, comment, subscribe. Yes, do comment. We will comment back. Whether we agree with you or disagree, we willing to duke it out with y'all. So make sure y'all comment.
Well, if you guys know me, one of my heroes in sports, more due to his broadcasting, was Bill Walton. And sadly, he has passed away after battling cancer for many years. You guys have seen my antics on the show, where many a times I go into my classic Bill Walton voice. Today, I'll refrain from that out of respect for one of the greatest college basketball players of all time, and a man considered to be one of the greatest sports broadcasters of all time. In fact, voted as one of the top 50 sports broadcasters in the history of sports. The greatest thing about Bill was how willing he was to be his most pure and authentic self on national TV. A lot of times you can tell that certain guys are fluff and they're just being a broadcaster and they're just doing their job. Bill Walton was living his life even as a broadcaster. He brought his unique personality. He was never afraid to say what he had to say. His antics were hilarious. He was a people's person. And one of the incredible things this week, when I kind of listened to people who know him and what's been going on throughout his lifetime off the court, is he was such a people person that he welcomed anybody into his home. In fact, at one time they said Richard Jefferson slept on his couch due to marital problems, etc., and things like that. But I just want to pay homage to the late, great Bill Walton. You're one of the reasons why I fell in love with college basketball when you moved to college basketball. And people don't realize how much of a just an absolute beast you were on the court. Go look up his numbers at UCLA. So you're definitely going to rise in peace. I know you'll be in the great woods of heaven somewhere, taking a walk, taking whatever you want, and tripping for the rest of your spiritual life. Bill, farewell to a great one. We'll miss you.
On a more solid note, though, unfortunately, we lost a legend this week. One of our favorites on the show. Jay always does the impressions of him. There's nothing but respect here. But we lost the late, great Bill Walton. He was one of the all-time greats, Hall of Famer, one of the best college basketball players all the time, NBA legend. One of the reasons I started getting basketball, watching him commentate. Mike, I know you probably have thoughts about losing Walton.
Yeah, what really gets me is not only the man we lost, because obviously he's an incredible person, seemed like an incredible human being. It's someone I would have loved to have been able to meet. It was also how sudden it was to me. It was like I never heard anything about him being sick with anything at all. As far as I knew, at the end of the college basketball season, he seemed fine. He had thinned out in recent years, so maybe that was that. But yeah, it was a shock when you sent that in the group text that we have. I was like, nah, he's lying. So I went and Googled it and I'm like, wow, okay, like he's actually gone. So yeah, it's very sad. Rest in peace to Mr. Bill Walton. I hope you're looking down on us, enjoying the wonderful trees of
Yep.
heaven. Your personal paradise amongst the California redwoods.
Jay, I know that was your guy. Real quick, I know you got thoughts on losing Mr. Walton.
Just a legend. The guy was so genuine. You couldn't help but fall in love with what he had to say, whether you thought it was absolutely just off the wall. And some of his takes were definitely out there. And he would confuse so many of his fellow broadcasters during games that made it funny. But he just taught people that being your authentic self is the best way to be in life. You don't have to overthink how or what to be. Just be your own genuine self. And if people accept you, they do. And if they don't, move on, because there's going to be people that are for you and people that aren't. And he just lived his life to the fullest. And he was Bill Walton 100. So nothing but love and respect for that man. And definitely condolences to his family and all the people that loved him, because there's a lot of people that leaned on Bill, and he definitely expressed a lot of love to them. So he'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, it's always sad when you have these type of moments because you miss the person, but I've been really enjoying a lot of these stories I've been hearing from different NBA legends, people talking about just funny times, commentating with them, funny locker room stories, even hearing some of the stories about how he was an activist and how he was actually active in the community. And, he was a modern day hippie, but Bill was Bill. And he was unapologetically Bill. I do have a question for y'all, though. And I mean, he, of course, was a UCLA legend. There's probably only one other answer for this. Who is the greatest UCLA Bruin in basketball in y'all mind?
Well, if it ain't Lou Alcindor, it's Bill Walton, three-time national player of the year consensusly.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally put him at 2. I think Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, however you want to refer to him, he has to be number 1 in my mind. But that is no, disrespect or anything to Bill Walton. If all Bill Walton would need to pass is Kareem, like, okay, you're in good company if you're talking about the top 2 players in UCLA history.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, just to look at like the snapshot of the two. So if you look at Walton played 3 years, 3-time National Player of the Year, averaged 20 points, almost 16 rebounds, shot 65% from the field. He went 86-4 in his career and started 73-0 with a tourney record of 11-1. On the other end, Lou Alcindor, or aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 3 years, 3-time National Player of the Year as well, averaged 26 points, 15 rebounds, a career of 88-2, started his career 44-0, and went 12-0 in the tourney. So if you ever were to say something was just that tight, and I really just think, it's preference, because I don't think it's really a wrong answer. And ain't too many times where I just don't take a side, but I just don't have a side to take when it comes to that, which is like crazy. I mean, Jay, you were there. I know you were, working at UCLA at the time as a professor. So you were there. What was your opinion of?
I'm most impressed. I think both men were activists in themselves. So even off the court, they definitely were instrumental in being activists in their communities and doing a lot more for their communities off the court. But one thing that stood out for me was the almost perfect national championship game. Bill Walton's 21 for 22, scores 44 points in the national championship game. And if you're almost perfect when you're supposed to be perfect and you deliver in those times, then hell yeah, you get my nod. I mean, it's a coin toss, right? Like you can't. It's almost like 1A and 1AA.
Right? Yeah.
Choose who your A is and choose who your AA is.
No, that's it. Yeah, that is. You can't beat that. Yeah. But like I said, we definitely want to send our condolences to the Walton family. Yes. You're definitely on our mind. And speaking of minds, Mike, what is on your mind?
Right. So keeping this one a little closer to home, tell me this doesn't sound like a riddle. May started a game in July that ended in August. Once in Durham, North Carolina, Rochester Red Wings pitcher Trevor May tossed 3 hitless innings against the hometown Durham Bulls. Then the rains came and the game was suspended. Fortunately, the teams had no more games scheduled against one another in Durham that year, so it was resumed on August 11th of that year, some 600 miles away in Rochester, New York, before that evening's regularly scheduled contest. This put the Red Wings in a rare position of being the away team while playing in their home ballpark, and put pitcher Logan Darnell in a rare position of inheriting a no-hitter in what was essentially a starting assignment. In fact, May wasn't even on the Rochester roster on August 11th, having been promoted to Minnesota 2 days earlier. But Darnell was up to the task, however unorthodox it may have been, as he no-hit the Bulls for 6 innings en route to the 22nd no-hitter in Red Wings history. He was thus credited for a win from the July 24th game in Durham, despite never having pitched on the day in question or in the city in which the game was alleged to have taken place. In fact, he'd been promoted to the Twins on July 25th, one day after that game, and made his first start of his major league career on July 26th against the White Sox, before being sent back to Rochester in time to finish in August what May had started in July.
Which was a promotion to demotion to a no-hitter to praises to the Rochester Red Wings.
Exactly.
Can I get
a lot of confusion?
Yeah, a lot of moving parts in that one, but 22nd no-hitter in Rochester Red Wings history.
Definitely the most unique no-hitter in Red Wings history, right?
So, I would say so, honestly.
Oh, it's not going to get more unique than that.
No.
But you know what else is unique and interesting to us? It's Jamie's Locks of the Week.
All right, girls, ghouls, goblins, and sports fans, welcome to another edition of your Pow, Pow, Pow Locks of the Week, brought to you by yours truly here, Grandpa J and Cinco Squad. So here's what you got to do to lock it in this week. I'm going all over the map. So I'm finally tuning into baseball and kind of going in with what's trending here. What's trending is the Guardians ain't losing. 9-1 in their last 10. The Washington Nationals are coming to town this weekend. I like them to sweep. I definitely like them on the Friday and Saturday, though. So don't be too frisky. Go ahead and take the Guardians to win on Friday and Saturday. That's 2 of the first 3 games of that series. We know anything can happen in game 3, but they are going to have a chance to sweep. But I'm telling you here, lock in game 1 and 2, and that's the Cleveland Guardians over the Washington Nationals. Then we're going to hop across the pond where we have the final pro soccer game of the entire season until we start up again. That is the UEFA Champions League. The juggernaut Real Madrid is taking on the Cinderella Borussia Dortmund of Germany. Can the Cinderella do it? I think they can, because somebody needs to freaking beat Real Madrid. Plus 450, that's 4.5 on your dollar. So if you bet 100, you can win 450. If you bet 50, you win half of that. That's 275. So go ahead and lock that in. If you like the Cinderella, I believe this Cinderella story will have the glass slipper fitted just right, and they will take down the juggernauts of the UEFA Champions League tournament, that being Real Madrid. And finally, I know I'm calling it early, but because I said it here on the show, as a bonus, we don't know if it's going to happen yet, but I think it is. Mavs in 6, like I said. Take the Mavericks when the series comes back to Dallas to close it out and claim their spot as the Western Conference champs for the rights to play for the NBA title against the Boston Celtics, who, by the way, finished things off in a spectacular fashion. So let's round it up one more time here. Cleveland Guardians to win game 1 and 2 in this weekend's home series against the Washington Nationals. Then let's fly over to Europe, where Borussia Dortmund is taking on the juggernauts of the UEFA Champions League tournament, Real Madrid. Take the Cinderella team, Borussia Dortmund. And finally, as a bonus, not sure if we're going to get a game 6. I think we will. If we do, take the Dallas Mavericks to win at home and win the Western Conference Championship.
All right, so make sure y'all lock that in. He's on a hot streak. At the end of the day, stay tuned. Just make sure you stay on our socials. Jay's going to be giving us picks throughout the Stanley Cup Finals, throughout the NBA Finals. The Olympics is coming, so we're going to have plenty. But speaking of championships, there's been a lot of talk out here about the Boston Celtics and people saying, look at this easy run. I mean, you get the first round and they got superstar missing. You don't play Jimmy Butler. He missed the whole series. Then Donovan Mitchell misses half of the Cavs series versus them. Then
and Jared Allen.
Right. So then you get to the last one, and Indiana looks like they can stay with them. Next thing you know, Tyrese Halliburton's out, and boom, series is over that quickly. And we've seen this in multiple sports where a team gets what's quote-unquote an easy run. But, fellas, do y'all find it to be devaluing to the championship if a team has quote-unquote an easy run? Does that have the same value? Jay, how you feel about that?
I don't think a team should get discredited for the fact that another team couldn't stay healthy. I mean, it definitely looked like Boston decided that we're not going to be 100 until we get to the finals. Everybody is calling this the Boston Invitational anyway, right? The Eastern Conference has been the Boston Invitational since the All-Star break. So regardless of teams being at full strength, of course, the series, they wouldn't be 12-2 right now to head to the finals. They probably would have lost more games, and we would have definitely probably seen Indiana stretch them to at least 6 with a healthy Tyrese. I don't think they should be discredited. At the end of the day, if your game plan is we can win this at 80-85% and you're bold enough to do that shit and you win playing at 85% of your potential, I think that should be the headline. It should be that Boston was actually able to save some of that pizzazz and magic that you need to win an NBA championship. And they're all chips in now. They might get Porzingis back. And I believe this team was always destined to win the NBA championship this year. So I don't think they need to be discredited at all. You got to win at the end of the day, regardless of who's on the floor. And guess what? You still have pros. You're still playing other pros. Yes, your superstar might be missing, but it's up to you to make sure your roster is deep enough to compete in the playoffs. And of course, you might say, well, if Tatum and Brown is out, does Boston go this deep? Perhaps not, because both have been phenomenal in the playoffs. But they've stayed healthy, and they deserve to be in the finals.
Now, I mean, this can happen in any sport, so it's always the curious thing. And it's not even just for basketball. And I guess I'll say this because me and Mike were having a discussion earlier about football. Let's say your Giants were playing, Mike, and they somehow went from a wild card, went all the way to the Super Bowl, but every time they played, the quarterback was out on the other team. Do you feel like that would devalue, like you as a Giants fan? Does that make you feel like, well, you know, we won the Super Bowl, but does it feel like less of a championship? Or does it still feel the same, even though they didn't play all the stars along the path?
Well, honestly, I've seen the Giants get their asses kicked by third stringers plenty of times to not really care. But no, I don't think so, because like Jamie said, you're still playing pro players. And I think to consider that, yeah, you could say, oh, they had a cakewalk or whatever, and it was easier than the other side or what have you. And that can be a fair evaluation of the playoffs. But to say outright that it devalues the championship they win, I feel like that also discredits the thing that we always say of anyone can beat anyone on any given night. So if that's true, then the devaluing of the championship can't be true, because we are making the evaluation of all teams that if they made the playoffs, they have the capability of beating anybody in the playoffs. Is that always true? No, not necessarily. And that can be from a variety of factors: injuries, talent, destiny, fate, luck, a bounce here and there. That's the beautiful thing about sports. So let's not discredit the beautiful things about sports in that we can see anything happen any night or any day. If you want to go to a day game, which none of us wanted to last week. So, but but
keep it prime time.
Exactly, keep it prime time. Trey, what do you think about it?
No, I mean, for me, I think they're getting kind of a raw deal, because it's not like Boston went out there and broke these guys' legs. Sometimes you get a luck on a championship run. It happens all the time. I mean, if you look at like football, like the New England Patriots, they had the luck of it, with the exception of that one crazy year Tom Brady was healthy. I mean, if Tom Brady gets hurt, then the whole Patriots path is derailed. Any of these things could happen in sports. I think what will ultimately, as long as they win and look respectable when defending their title, nobody's going to go at them. If y'all remember in the last round, people started retroactively going back and saying, oh, well, the Nuggets didn't play anybody that won 50 games. But then they end up battling out, and people are like, okay, well, they are legit. Now, if let's say Boston does win, but next year they come out and look like shit, people are going to retroactively say, well, were they really the champs? They didn't really play anybody. Right. But it is what it is. And I think that is the hard point for when people try to, devalue and say, this team, they got all the luck. I mean, hey, next year it might be your team, and you're not going to be like, oh, my team's championship. Right. If you end up in the same spot. I remember the first Warriors run, the 2015 team, they kept going every round. They didn't play a point guard, And everybody's like, I don't know if this team's legit. Now, the next year, the Warriors go out there and win 73 games. And then everybody's like, okay, well, maybe they are legit. So for Boston, if they win the championship this year, as long as they look respectable next year, people in the long term of NBA history are not going to remember, oh, yeah, Donovan Mitchell didn't play for 2 games when they were playing Cleveland. That's going to be quickly forgotten. That's $750,000 the Dallas Mavericks could spend. And I know what you're thinking. That's somebody's salary, but it's not. It was the fine they spent last year for tanking. If y'all remember last year, the Dallas Mavericks had a shot at going to playoffs, and they tanked. And people such as me, including me, have said, damn, I can't believe y'all doing that. That's a disgrace to the game. It's jacked up. I don't know if I should congratulate them or if I should be still scolding them. But I guess anyway, it worked out. Here we are. Dallas Mavericks are on a hell of a playoff run and closing in on a possible NBA championship. But let's set this up for you. They end up tanking. They're able to keep that pick. That pick didn't go to New York. Now they're able to draft Derek Lively. Of course, Derek Lively's been great. He's been able to help them out a lot. Also, from the Derek Lively pick, they made that trade with OKC. When they made that trade with OKC, they were able to dump Davis Bertans $22 million contract to get off the books. Also, while doing that, they come back, they get Rashawn Holmes. Rashawn Holmes, they then take to flip at the trade deadline to go get Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively have been two of the most amazing pickups for them this season. They've changed the way the interiors play. They've made a lot of things easier for Luka and Kyrie, and they've just been heaven sent for them. So I don't know if I should congratulate them, if I should be frustrated with them. I will give Nico Harrison his flowers, though. Nico's done a hell of a job. He turned that team around. Some people weren't sure if they should go get Kyrie. It's worked. He set the culture, and hey, we got to give Nico his flowers. So shout out to you, Nico. What I will say that is, like, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot online, and people were saying, okay, the East looks like shit. We're tired of the East looking like shit. Back in the 80s, you had the West look like shit. So, Mike, if you had your chance, would you switch the NBA seeding to 1 through 16, all of conference, or would you leave it to 1 through 8? So, basically saying the 16 best teams get in no matter if they're East or West, if you could.
If I could, if I were in charge of this, we'd go 1 to 16. I want to see the 16 best teams. I don't give a shit about where they play, what conference they're in. I want to see the 16 best teams because, and this kind of goes with like the play-in thing, is like we're getting half-assed, well below 500 teams, not making the play-in, and I don't want to reach a point where we get the other conference has a ton of, like let's say like 1 year the Western Conference absolutely in cross-conference play dominates the Eastern Conference, and suddenly the Western Conference has 12 teams above 500 and only a handful of, and like we got 2 that are going to miss it. No, I want those 2 to get in. I want the best players in the league, the best teams in the league to be able to play each other. Plus, I love the idea of those cross-conference matchups in the playoffs because, like if we could get Tatum Jokic in the playoffs, just in the second round or whatever, just if things shook, like that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool. I would find that so cool. Like if you get Steph Jimmy in the first round, that'd be sweet. I'd love that. I will say this as someone who's, I've been very open in the fact that the NBA is the one of the big 4 that I watch the least as far as up until the playoffs. If you give me that, like I will, that as an outside NBA fan or someone that's really getting into the NBA now, that would make me want to tune in more. So that's just me.
So no love for the Atlanta Hawks and their 10 games below 500 we're playing in the play-in?
No, not at all. I'm no love for Trae Young and others.
I completely agree with you on that because at the end of the day, for me, I want to see the best teams in. That's what we need. We don't want to have – I would rather have a superstar from a better team in than basically putting a team who was shit all year. That's what I'm talking about. The Atlanta Hawks were 10 games under 500, and they had the opportunity to play in the play-in. I would have much rather kicked them out. Maybe the Warriors had a better shot at getting in. We do get Steph Curry. And the thing is, the original reason why conferences probably were made was because of travel. It was easier to say, okay, well, this team, we don't want them to have to go from California all the way to New York and back. But travel is a lot easier than it used to be. People are playing on private jets. Everybody's not going through regular airport security. And then especially in the earlier rounds, in the NBA particularly, and in hockey too, in the earlier rounds, they have a lot more rest in between games. So it's not like they're playing every other day like they do once you get to the conference championship. So you can't say the rest because there are points when I'm watching the Eastern Conference playoffs in basketball and they're like 3-4 games or 3-4 days in between. It's like, okay, well, they're just sitting at home anyways. So, yeah, they could have been traveling where maybe you do get the Lakers going against the Knicks. Like, how dope would that be to be in the first week of May and the Lakers are playing the Knicks in a playoff series? You got these big markets head up. So I personally would love to see that. I mean, I don't, Jay, I know you're at times a traditionalist, but at times you're off the wall. Are you okay with this off-the-wall theory of going 1 through 16?
Look, before we get there, one thing, right? Last year we were cheated out of Boston versus LA, both on 17 titles. Winner becomes the most winningest franchise in NBA history. So I don't think Boston fans give 2 shits about who looks good next year. Once they have 18, it's pure bragging rights, and they're going to be trolling the Lakers online. Whether they win 5 games next year or 60 games next year, it don't matter. Boston just wants to be the team again because the Lakers, we know, have had the most recent success.
We will be back next year.
All right. And they skyrocketed past them. Okay. Now, when it comes to this topic, I'm kind of torn, right? Well, I definitely agree with you guys where the quality of the playoffs would probably definitely go up. So we'd have more quality matchups between high seeds to low seeds. We've seen that in both conferences, regardless. The Lakers made a run as the 7th seed and the Heat made a run as the 8th seed last year. Both of them may not have even made the playoffs if we're going top 16, correct? So there's certain things we have to look at and say, all right, is this what we truly want? Because take Philadelphia, for example. I think the Philly-New York series may be the best of the playoffs so far. Maybe the Minnesota-Denver first and then Knicks against Sixers second, right? So Embiid goes out and the Sixers drop from 2 to 7 and maybe they end up the 17th best team. We don't get a chance to see that Sixers team. We don't get the magic that we witnessed in the playoffs this year. I feel like, of course, I want to see Embiid and Maxey. Why wouldn't I want to see those guys compete in the playoffs? Embiid's a former the reign MVP. I want him in the playoffs. I think the circumstance of losing a superstar early in the season, affecting your record and getting them back late, and then you might still miss the playoffs, still cheats us out of seeing who may be a potential champion or who can beat a good team. I think the solution to this is, as opposed to going 1 through 16, is eliminate the play-in games completely. So forget about the play-in games. But to say what we're going to do here is when you hit that 500 threshold, whatever teams are at that 500 threshold, we're going to take up to 10 in each conference. So that means you're guaranteed at least 6 in the East. See what I'm saying? So you're not going to take 11th or down in the West, even if the East 6 has a worse record than the West 11. I think once you're at top 10, that's what it should max out at. So the West or East would get the 10, and you still have to allow, to me, to have some representation in the other conference. And what if the West ends up having 12 or 13 teams? Then what? You have 3 teams from the East. You know what I mean? So I feel you should cap it at a certain amount, and then the remainder comes from that conference.
So what you're saying is actually similar to what the NHL does in a way, because what the NHL does within conferences, they don't play cross-conference in the playoffs, obviously. But within the conferences, in the divisions, each division gets a minimum 3 teams in of the 8 that are in each division. And so it can be 4-4, or it can be 5-3. And there have been times where it's been 5-3, where both wildcard teams in each conference come out of the same division, just in a given year. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that plan, just to make sure that every conference gets its fair share of teams in the playoffs.
Do we really have to have sympathy, though, for the NBA? It's 30 teams in the league right now. Probably be 32 soon. We already got half of the damn league in there. If you can't find your way in the top 16, then goddamn it, you don't deserve to be there. I get if your star was out, but if you built the right team, and let's say Jokic is out, if the team is built the right way, you should be able to at least find your way to the damn top 16 out of 30 teams. That means you're literally in the bottom 50%. That's why I don't mind doing the 1 through 16. And I would love to see some of these matchups that we just would never get. It's cool. The only thing I would say, if you do that, it takes away sometimes, I would say, from the rivalries, because maybe you get the one team one year and you say, all right, rematch from last year's playoffs. But at the same time, with the movement of the NBA now, I don't know if we get the same matchups anyways, because, okay, you're like, let's get a rematch of this team, and then that superstar leaves and goes to the other side anyways. So we already
like what if Cleveland and Golden State were 2-3 for most of that 4-year run? You know what I mean? And we don't get it as like the battle for the championship.
But I like the idea of.
But you remember the one year where everybody was like, well, the Rockets and Golden State, this is the NBA Finals, and it wasn't the NBA Finals. So I also think if you got the 1 and 2 seed as truly the best 2 teams, then we may be getting the best NBA Finals matchup. Also, I would love that end of season when we're really still shuffling. So sometimes the 1 seed like Boston was super locked up, but let's say they were competing truly for the number 1 seed, and now they got to play it all the way out. Or that bottom, when we get to the last week, and the team's like, well, I still got a shot. I know the play-in gives you that, but in this scenario, we can limit the play-in, and people are going to have to play because now you're jockeying at 8 and 9 for going from 8 to 5.
Yeah, so the last 2 weeks of the season are like absolutely significantly playoff games.
Right. Because you're not just looking, if you're like, let's say the Sixers, you're not just looking to see what the Knicks are doing. You're like, oh, shit, let me check the box score. I got to stay up late and see what the Sacramento Kings did on the West Coast when they were playing OKC that night. So I just think we'll get a lot of, like, kickback of that. I guess because we talked about in this sport, would you feel Football you can't do because of the balance of the schedule. Baseball, everybody plays everybody now. Mike, I'll go to you really quick. What if baseball, if we just said, all right, we're putting everybody 1 through 30, or not 1 through 30, we put all 30, we take out the AL and NL, we give everybody the same rules, and we say, this is the playoffs.
Oh, see.
Because we don't have interleague play isn't what it used to be, where you just don't play anybody for like
right. Yeah, but at the same time, so you talk about Jay being a basketball traditionalist. You know,
That's
I'm a
why I asked
baseball
you the baseball.
traditionalist.
Mike's
I know
a-
that's why you're asking.
Mike's
Yes,
a
that's
pennant
why
traditionalist. He's like,
Oh
what
my
about winning the
God, yes,
pennant?
I am. So in my heart of hearts, deep in my baseball soul, I have to say no. Keep it AL NL because it's just
Dear Lord, don't change it.
don't change it. It's because it's the 1800s that we've been doing this. Well, since the 1900s, really, but early 1906 or something. I will change everything except for baseball. It's just it hurts my soul to do it, so I can't do it. I can't
deep
do
in
it.
your heart.
Deep in my heart, I can't do it. I
Jay,
get.
would you change the
Get it,
baseball one?
I don't know if I want to change baseball because it's dependent, like the divisions are aligned geographically. So you do have true rivalries per the geographical location. And so I think it makes it a little more special because that's how it's set up. You truly have West Coast rivalries and East Coast rivalries, Midwest rivalries. So baseball is set up a lot different. When the NBA, we know things are all over the place with teams sort of aligned that way. I guess, Golden State's division, most of it's in the state of California. But I think it's kind of all over the map more with other sports. So I think baseball should kind of stay as it is. We've known baseball to be such a traditional sport where they hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
The pennant means
definitely.
so much. The pennant means so much to fans today, yesterday. So I think people would throw a shit fit. I swear, people would be jumping off the damn freaking Brooklyn Bridge if they did something like this.
No, I believe baseball's the one because kind of what you said, the geographical thing. Baseball in general, even in the viewership, is geographical, where you know the people in your division more. And sometimes you don't even know about this, like cold pitchers on the West Coast, because you're only paying attention to your region if you're maybe in the Midwest. Or you're somewhere in the South, you're only watching South baseball, but you're not really watching like Seattle or something like that. So baseball is the one I probably would not touch because of that. And kind of what you said, some of the rivalries, we get a lot more in baseball where you pay a team so many times and you get to go play them one more time. Like you get these like Yankees, Red Sox like matchups and things like that. And to me, I just wouldn't want to lose those. But I mean, moving on from there, we were talking about geographics here. And the WNBA, they're doing a lot with their geographics. They actually just added, and shout out to Toronto, give them a round of applause. They actually were just awarded, I don't know if they've been named for it, but they were just awarded a WNBA team. Eventually, we'll talk.
So does that make 14 or 15 for the addition of this one?
It's unbalanced. I think it's 15 because I was looking. I think they're unbalanced on their size.
Yeah, because they're already adding Golden State.
Yeah, because then they're adding, right, they already got a Golden State, whatever they call them, they're calling Golden State, San Francisco, whatever they officially.
I think they're going with Golden State. I think they're going to go with the Warriors.
So
they're going with the Valkyries to go with the Warriors.
Makes sense. Let me do a fact check here. We have 12 teams right now. So with those two additions, 6 in the East and West. So that'll make it 7 and 7 in each division. Yep.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so we're at an even thing. So we're adding Toronto. Now, as the WNBA starting to grow, we're seeing Caitlin Clark, shout out to her. She had a 30-point game the other night. We're seeing just some of these other people we're seeing, come up, and we're watching more viewership go. Meaning, eventually, we're going to get more expansion. And y'all know, if y'all watched the show before, we love to talk expansion, talk where we put teams. So, Jay, hey, we're coming soon. We're going to have to build a couple more teams. Where would you put a team? And also, on top of that, do you think the WNBA is smart to keep aiming for places where they're NBA teams, or should they consider starting to look at some of the markets where there is no either major sports team or NBA team already?
Well, I think you have to look at your history, and what's happening is the Houston team folded. They went bankrupt. The San Antonio team had to change cities because they were on the verge as well. So maybe the formula is already showing you, let's not go and chase cities that have a men's team, especially successful men's team that have won championships recently. And how do we match up? Now, the Houston was amazing. They're phenomenal. Cheryl Swoops and the lot were just team to beat early on in the beginning of the WNBA. But, two things you say, right, is that the arena is already in place. But you're going to have a hard time even packing it at half capacity, right? So maybe you do look for a city where you have to, in some ways, get creative, right? Play in arenas that now we know Caitlin needs larger arenas and certain stars are going to pack it out, but that's maybe just for now and just for this year. who knows if we're going to continue with this momentum. So maybe you accommodate for your sport to make it look more appealing. Go into smaller arenas and go ahead and experiment with the smaller markets that may be desperate to want to side with at least one professional team. And if you go ahead and you become that team in your city, then women's basketball becomes the biggest deal in that given city. So I know Nashville's on the market as a potential. That would be a great freaking city. You know why? Because that's where everybody goes to have their stag. We call it bachelorettes. So maybe they call them the Nashville bridesmaids. And those mofos never win an NBA and WNBA finals because they're the Nashville bridesmaids.
Always runner up, but never
always runner up, but never the bride.
Mike, I know you love expansion talk, so I know you've well thought this out.
Yes.
Where are you taking this team to?
I got a whole brand for you. And actually,
okay.
I thought deep about this. And actually, it's funny you say that, Jamie, because we are going to the state of Tennessee, but we're not going to Nashville. We're going to go to Knoxville.
Knock it, baby.
It's close enough to it's in the region of Nashville and Memphis. There are sports teams surrounding them, but there is no pro sports team based in Knoxville, Tennessee. But you know what there is in Knoxville, Tennessee? The University of Tennessee.
Oh, feed it, baby.
We are going to introduce the Knoxville Summit.
There we go.
In honor
of going there.
In honor of not only Pat Summit, but the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a region that Knoxville has a surprisingly high population. Let me pull it up here. The city population is currently at 190,740. So Knoxville's a bigger city than people give it credit for because it's near Nashville and Memphis. You wouldn't think it's that big, but it's big enough, I think, to sustain a pro sports team. Maybe not, an NHL team, which is Nashville, a football team, which is in Nashville. There's the University of Memphis. There's no baseball team. There should be. There's a AAA team. But I just think that that's a perfect spot where you're not competing with room and popularity with the Nashville teams, but you're still getting the Nashville fans. You're giving them another thing to come to. You can have kind of the city to your own where you can cultivate your own fan base, because I agree. I'm going to go with stay away from the NBA cities. Create your own markets. Create your own fan bases. It can be NBA teams, right? But at the same time, you don't want to be competing with basketball fans directly in the arena, because when it comes down to it, scheduling wise, fan wise, all that, they're going to want to see the NBA team more at this point. So like we talked last week, in an effort to get them to be equal, they have to be separate at the moment. They have to be able to go create their own thing. So yes, we will introduce the Knoxville Summit and create give the Knoxville sports fans a little bit of a hometown team.
Knoxville, Tennessee. That was a place I did not expect to come up in this conversation, nor did I realize it was that many people. Shout out to y'all. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah, I just, you always think of Memphis. You always think of Nashville. I think of Knoxville, and the fact of like.
I don't think of Knoxville because fuck Tennessee.
Well, yeah. I mean, James.
Mr. Kentucky over here. So I like where you're going there, but wrong place to put it.
Trey going South Carolina.
No. We're going to put this in a college town. We're going to put it next to the Ohio State University.
Oh, of course we are.
We're going to put a team
in
Columbus.
Go.
Why wouldn't you put a team in Columbus?
There we go. Look. Mike, just take me on the screen right now.
Okay, so there's a quick flashback, though. I do agree with not putting the team necessarily trying to chase the NBA. Me living in Cleveland at the time, we used to have the Cleveland Rockers, and I remember going to the games as a kid when it first started. It was kind of fun. It was inexpensive. My mother could afford to take me, and then eventually it kind of started to fall off, and people stopped going. The Cleveland Rockers were gone. After that, I ended up going to Eastern Michigan University. That's where I attended college at. When I get to Eastern Michigan, I forgot the name of the team, must be Detroit. It's not too far from Eastern Michigan University. They go to the WNBA Championship, could not sell tickets. You know what they did? They put the tickets for free for us in college to go to the WNBA Championship on our college campus, which was 40 minutes from Detroit, because they couldn't pack the house because nobody gave a damn, because at the time we were there, the Pistons were pretty good still. They weren't too far off of like the Chauncey Billups years and stuff like that. And people just didn't give a damn about them. So I like going to the idea of going to places where they don't have too much pro sports. At that point, you put them there. the WNBA plays in the summer. If you put them in Columbus, they don't have to actually compete with the Buckeyes, but now they become the main attraction until we get our Ohio State Buckeyes championship run coming in the fall. So I think they will pack out. You have a lot of sports fans. Columbus is actually a bigger city than Cleveland and Cincinnati and has proven they can pack out. I mean, they already had a Columbus Blue Jackets. They've been pretty successful. You could put them in Nationwide Arena. You already have an arena built, but what they don't have is they don't rotate with the NBA, and that arena is pretty much, for lack of a better term, on ice during the summer, other than basically playing through, concerts. So why not let the WNBA get in there and cook? I think it would be wonderful. So WNBA, let's consider Columbus. I don't got a team name. We'll come up with that, but I would love to see WNBA go to Columbus.
Bravo to the MLB for deciding to start including former Negro League players' stats into the record books for the MLB. It's long overdue, as the players said. They all are for it from the sounds of it, and I couldn't agree more. Josh Gibson, congratulations to you. You are now the owner of the career batting average, single season batting average, OPS, and slugging percentage MLB records. And I'm so happy that they're honoring a guy like Josh Gibson, who was a star in the Negro Leagues and unfortunately was never able to make the jump to the MLB before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. So I think it's really cool. You've been putting them in the Hall of Fame. Now you're putting them in the record books, honoring all of baseball, just like you should. It's long overdue, and I can't wait to see what other inclusion they are able to do, because it's important for the history of baseball to include these guys, these stars, these guys that never got to play in the league, or we only saw a shell of what they were into their 40s when they joined the MLB.
But moving on. So there was something that kind of came up, and it's always this interesting thing where particularly this was Mike's thought, because, Mike's our baseball aficionado. You got a scenario where you could either be the best minor league player, like just the man, Michael Jordan of minor league baseball, or you could be, this barely hanging on, but you're in the pros, you're in the majors. Every day you're wondering if you're going to get called back, but you are in the majors. Mike, if you had the opportunity, would you rather be the Michael Jordan, the best minor league player, or would you be this guy who is in the majors, but you just don't know if you're going to hold on to majors?
I would rather be the guy in the majors, because there's a bunch of guys that can say they played minor league ball. Not a lot of people can say they played major league ball. And even if, I get a cup of coffee, there's something special in the baseball world about becoming a major league player. No one can take that away from you. I don't care how good or bad I am. I was good enough at baseball that they called me up to the major leagues. So would I love to obviously be a star in the major leagues and have a long career and all that? Yeah, but once I make the major leagues, once I make my major league debut, no one can take that away from me. No one can ever say you weren't a major league baseball player, because I made it. And and that's just something special to me. And being able to walk on that field even one time, no matter what field it is, I could be, get one at bat, throw one pitch, whatever. I played in a major league baseball game. So that's just something that, it would be really special.
I'm going to be honest with you. And I don't know Jay's answer, we'll see. If your answer is I'd rather be in the minor leagues and go please chase the majors, I wouldn't even want you on my team, because that's a loser-ass mentality. Who in the hell doesn't want to go play with the best? If you don't want to go play with the best, you may as well go figure it out. Go play a video game or something, because your whole goal is to go to majors. You've been doing this probably since you were 5 or 6 years old, dreaming about sitting in left field, dreaming about being in Yankee Stadium, playing in Fenway or something like that. So who in the hell, no offense to the minor league stadium, who wants to go play in front of 2,000 people, but you going to play in front of thousands, even if you sit on the bench, even if you only do it for a week? You have to aim to go to the majors. I get you to be the minor league Michael Jordan, but everybody's going to be looking eventually and say, well, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Why does nobody ever call him up? Does he have an attitude problem?
Right.
Is something off? Like, how can you be this dominant and yet nobody will give you a chance? So, yeah, if you get a chance to go to the majors, I don't give a damn if it's for a day. You got to go to the majors. Even if you sit on the bench, even if you never throw a pitch, go to the majors. You can always say, because the thing is, you'll be able to write a book. You'll be able to go own a car dealership. You know what? It'll be on a commercial, former major league player. It don't matter if you played actually in the game. He was there. They called him up for a week. You are now always former major league player John Doe or whoever it is. So, yeah, you got to go take that majors. What about you, Jay? You're competitive.
Too competitive. But this one I'm struck on, because I don't know if I want to be in the Mendoza line conversation, which I learned in doing some research on this term, which means you're hitting under 200, which makes you absolutely abysmal in the eyes of people, which means you have no value, which means I feel devalued as an athlete. which means I perpetually start to not believe in myself anymore, which means I don't think I belong in the major leagues, which means my career fizzles out anyway. So, yeah, of course I want to have a shot at it. I would love that. But if I could be Puig in the minors or Mendoza in the majors, God damn, let me be Puig with a fucking mental illness and be off my rocker just like the real Yasiel Puig. Enjoy my life for 2 or 3 years, ball out everywhere I go, have to sign fucking 1,000 autographs and think that I have the potential to make it to the majors. But the reason why people don't want me is because I'm fucking crazy. So I'd probably rather live out 3-4 years like that, ride out, and then maybe settle down for a year if somebody's like, hey, come take a shot. And look, then I'll be like the proverbial Shane Matthews, let's say, of his time in the NFL. Great college player, goes to the NFL, and he's the guy holding for his entire career, backup quarterback, holding the freaking clipboard, making, I don't know, $800,000, $750,000 a year, invest well later on in life, no bodily injuries. I never really put myself at harm's way. So life would be perfect, right? You ball in here and then you get your shot here. I don't know if I run away. I don't know if I want to run away from the fact that I'm feeling myself as an athlete, and I know that I can compete night in and night out and give my all. It would kill me more to know that I think I'm better than X or Y, but because of kind of like the NBA, right? Not so much the mercy rule, but like you don't lose your starting spot until you lose your starting spot. So I feel like baseball, they're a little more strict with that. Next man up kind of, I don't know how many teams honor that next man up. I think there's so many layers that you have to get through for that, unless a team just kind of freaking falls apart. You're like, all right, next, let's keep digging deep down in this bench and figure out who we can call up next. So I was at odds thinking about this all day. At first I was like, nah, I'm competitive. I want to be in the majors. But I don't know if I just want to be watching it the whole time. I think that would piss me off more. I'd be coming home to my wife or girlfriend being like, this shit sucks. I want to freaking play. Just be a total baby about it.
But can you feel okay, like sitting there saying, but damn, they never called me up. What's wrong with me? At a certain point, I would be beating myself saying, damn, they never picked me. It's like when you're in elementary school, if you're the kid who's there and nobody ever picks you, and it's like,
yeah,
all right, recess, let's pick teams. They're like, pick him, pick him, pick him. You're like, if somebody going to pick me, I'm right here. Hey, I can play kickball too.
Poor Mikey.
Right. And that's why Mike
wants
to go to the major. He doesn't want to be stat keeper. Because I don't know, Jay. I feel like you're saying that, but for a man who competed at such a high level as an athlete, I just can't see you being like, nah, it's cool. Because it's like this. I'll ask you this actually. You went to the Olympics. Would it have been better to not have went to the Olympics, or just and just be like, I was dominant, but I got to the Olympics and I ran into better Olympic players? But at the end of the day, we can always say,
I feel you on that.
He went to the Olympics.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
This is Jay. He was a really good guy in college. He was a really good guy, but in his country, but he never got there. Because at the end of the day, you know what you got on most people? You swam the Olympics. Most of us are just swimming at the fucking local pool. and that's something you always have. Right. I can go fucking swim.
Well, you're right, though. I definitely side with you on that part. But as an athlete who wants to compete, it would eat.
No, I get it. It eats you up on the bench.
Yeah.
To have to.
Yeah.
Mike, would it eat you up on the bench to have to sit on the bench that much? Or would you just be like, well, at least I'm here. I'm sitting, like, if you were, let's say you were on the Yankees, Mike, and you're like, I'm on the Yankees, and this is 1999. You're like, well, at least you get to sit next to Derek Jeter. Would you be okay with that?
I got more sunflowers. I got like 19 flavors, guys. I'm your guy. Call me sunflower.
Yeah, exactly.
Call me sunshine.
Call me sunshine. No, I mean, that would be frustrating. If I never got in a game, yeah, that'd be frustrating because it's like, okay, you think I'm good enough, especially these guys and it sucks. These guys that continuously get called up to fill a roster spot but never really get into the game. It's like, okay, clearly I'm your next man up. Like, I'm the one you keep calling up because I'm good and I'm the next good enough to be in. Just put me in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I can throw a pitch, get on at bat, be in the field for an inning. Cool. I got in the game. Like,
but you actually brought one other point. I wasn't even thinking this. And I'll let you tell the story, Mike. You know why else you got to get to the majors? Because you could be fucking Wally Pipp. Mike, tell him about Wally Pipp. And this is why I'm taking a shot about being there. Because at least every day you got a shot to not, to go ahead, Mike. Tell him the Wally Pipp story. This is why you have to be available and be in the majors to have this scenario play out. If they don't know it, then Mike, go ahead. Story time.
Yes, so Wally Pipp. It's a fun name. Wally Pipp also happens to have one real distinction in his career, and that is that Wally Pipp was the first baseman who happened to take over the day the Iron Horse streak ended. He was the first baseman that replaced Lou Gehrig. And so when it comes to next man up, he was the next man up. As far as like, hey, by the way, all of a sudden, Lou ain't playing today, so you're in. And he's like,
can you imagine? He must have been drunk as shit. Coach, what the hell are you talking about?
what are you talking about? Nah, Lou's playing.
Get out of here, Coach.
No, and the thing is like Wally Pipp, I say that's his one real distinction in his career. Wally Pipp was a good baseball player. Like, he was a good player. It's just he'll always be known as the guy.
Wrong team, wrong place, because you ain't getting a sweat.
Yeah.
And to take that chance to be on the right day when you just don't know, they actually call your number, but you got to be in the majors to have that ready. Shot, and that is why it's worth taking that shot.
You never know.
Hey, who knows? But fellas, it's about that time.
Is it now?
Got to start kicking some ass here. Everybody's favorite time of the day.
Yes, sir.
The squad.
Squad up, baby. I think it kind of seems a little unfair we don't have John here, but who cares? One of us is scoring one more point.
He's going to lose anyway.
He's going to have to catch up anyway. He's going to lose an OT anyway if you guys follow the show. All right, cat schools, boys, girls, whatever you call yourself. Today, it's the 3. So we might have a tie. We might not. Who knows if we end up with a tiebreaker that we can't decide. But you guys can play along with us. Give yourselves +2 if you get it right. Give yourselves -2 if you get it wrong. Don't cheat and look at your phone because we don't. We just know it all. We pretend like we don't sometimes. So you can feel good about yourselves. However, this evening, I'm going to go to my main man here, Mr. Mikey. Go ahead and lead us off in Stump this week.
Okay. So, which of the following WNBA teams have not moved cities at some point in their history? Is it A, the Connecticut Sun, B, the Dallas Wings, C, the Las Vegas Aces, or D, the Indiana Fever?
I'm going Aces.
Okay.
What was A?
A was the Connecticut Sun.
A.
Okay, so Jamie, you're going with the Connecticut Sun, Aces.
I think it's D.
This week, I have successfully stumped the squad.
D, right?
It's the Indiana Fever.
Fucking knew it was the Fever. Jesus.
Why I thought they moved? I thought they moved.
I knew it was the Fever.
You would have.
You
would think
knew it.
Yeah, I thought they were expansion. I didn't realize.
I knew it was the Fever. I don't know why I went with A.
That was the team I just was sure.
I knew Dallas changed cities, and I knew that Vegas changed cities, but I was unsure. But I was more leaning to Indiana. Dumb move.
Interesting. Huh.
Who's next, Mikey?
I'll pass it back to you, Jay.
All righty. Well, you guys know I'm the sad guy here because my guy, Rafa Nadal, got knocked out in the first round of the French Open. It was his farewell tournament. Of course, he's played Alexander Zverev, who is one of the best players in the world right now, top 3 player. Straight sets. I was hoping he would give him a fight at least, or at least win, and we all get excited. How deep can he go? But 14-time French Open champions, never going to be done again. However, who is the bridesmaid to Nadal in the French Open? So who has the second most French Open titles in the history of the tournament post-1925? Because only Frenchmen were allowed to play in the tournament prior to that. Is it A, Ivan Lendl, B, Novak Djokovic, C, Gustavo Kuerten, or D, Bjorn Borg?
Gustavo
Kuerten, who I met at the Olympics from Brazil. One of the coolest cats I've ever met in my life in the cafeteria.
That's dope.
I'll go Borg.
Gentlemen, I have successfully stumped Trade. It is Bjorn Borg.
Yes.
Okay. So we won't have a 3-way tie here, most likely.
No, so would you like there's only 3 of us, but would you like the scores?
Yeah, what are the scores?
So Jamie has -2, Trey has -4, and I have 2.
So you have to get it wrong, and I have to get it right.
Correct.
All right, there we go.
Okay, it's going to be tricky. I don't know if I took a risk here. I went to the diamond, even though that's Mike's wheelhouse. Yeah, let's see what happens. So, everybody this week, we talked about the NBA, and everybody's like, what happens if 2 teams get swept in the NBA? It's never happened before. So, I thought about it. Baseball's been around forever. Have we ever had an ALCS and NLCS where there's been, 2 sweeps at the same times? No, who knows? So, how many times has there been a sweep in the same season in both the ALCS and NLCS? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
2.
3.
Jamie's going 2. Mike's going 3.
3.
All right, fellas.
We got a
Looks
tiebreaker.
like today we are having a tiebreaker. It is
Yes.
2. Yes, it is 2.
Damn it.
And since we're here, I won't actually. I'm gonna make it real simple. What year was the last time this happened? That is the tiebreaker.
Oh my God.
Okay. Last time there was a sweep in both the ALCS and
And
NLCS.
NLCS. Yep.
2005.
2008.
Okay, so Mike's going 2005. Jamie's going 2008.
Yeah.
Okay, so today's winner of Stump the Squad is Mike.
Yes.
The last time was 1970.
70.
70. Wow.
The 2 times were 1969 and 1970, which is right around the time they started the AL and NLCS.
Wow.
There's been a lot of 4-1, 4-0s, but somebody always messed that up. So, yes, 1970 is the last time we had a swept in both the AL and NLCS. Shout out, by the way, to the Timberwolves for not actually getting swept and give us more basketball because, God damn it, I need more basketball.
Thank you, Anthony Cat Towns, for turning into somewhat of a baby tiger and not being a you-know-what in Game 4.
But also for making many random stupid-ass fouls. So, anyways,
Fucking
as
Emma.
usual, of course, it was a great
That was
show
so
today.
big. That was a man-child at the end of that game.
No, he was. He was.
Mhm.
I didn't recognize him out there at that point
Mhm.
because I had a lot of bad words from him. If y'all saw on Twitter, there were
Mhm.
a lot of bad Carfrey Towns posts that I was putting up because, I mean, Cat was doing Cat things.
Mhm.
But, fellas, as usual, it was a great show. Of course, felt a little bit weird. We didn't have John with us. Hopefully he's able to find some good recruits, like I said. Not too good to beat Ohio State, but like I said, I think he's somewhere in Alaska looking for a running back or something for Michigan for next season. That's what he told us last time. But he'll definitely be on the social. So, I mean, I know some of y'all look forward to seeing John's videos.
Yes.
He'll be on the socials. He'll be back next week. Any parting thoughts? I mean, we got Mike's Rangers still going. We're almost to the NBA Finals. We're almost to the Stanley Cup Finals. By the time y'all see us next week, we'll pretty much be there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hopefully, let's go Rangers. Hopefully make the Stanley Cup Finals by the time the series should be over by our show next week. Hopefully we win it soon, win the next 2 games and get that over with. Did want to give a shout out to, we joke about, John is off recruiting, but do want to give a shout out to his wife, Malin. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, May.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We love
I know
you. Thanks for being our biggest supporter.
Yes. Oh my God. She has helped us so much. So I'm down to the logo. I mean, our logo that we love so much, that she came up with that logo. So
I think we should officially make her Mrs. Cinco. How about that?
I would agree with that. I think that's a proper title.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mrs. Cinco Malin. As of recording, it's her birthday. It will have passed her birthday by the time you guys see this. But yes, happy birthday to her. We love you guys. Can't wait to have John back. Can't wait to see you guys because I personally may be seeing you soon. What could that mean? Stay tuned to Cinco Squad to find out.
We have to leave teasers. They're interesting. Jay, any final thoughts going into this last little week of before we get to the championships here?
Yeah, I just want to see Minnesota come out and compete in Game 5 and take that game over early, so I know I at least guaranteed a Game 6. Because damn it, I want to watch some basketball this weekend. So come on, Minnesota, let's stretch it to Game 6.
Right, I don't give a damn who wins. I just don't need to be sitting on my hands with nothing to do, saying, "Oh no, it's no basketball." I mean, this is as of the time I was recording this on a Wednesday night. This is the first time I have not had basketball to watch since like fucking September because I watch preseason too. I'm one of those type of nerds. I have not had any basketball to watch, and I'm like, what do I do with my life? What do I do? I'm like theming here. So please, Minnesota, extend the series. I don't care who wins, but please extend it. Speaking of that, make sure y'all tune in. There will be an episode next week of Starting 5. We'll have an NBA Finals preview. Make sure y'all tune in. The rotation's going strong. Baseball season's picking up. You'll definitely have a rotation. Make sure, if y'all are still tuned in, like, comment, subscribe. Cinco Squad Pod 05. That is our socials, 05. Make sure y'all like I said, comment. We love to talk. If y'all think we're full of shit, let us know that we're full of shit. If you like what we're doing, let us know. If you got topics you want to hear, suggest it. One of my homeboys, that's who suggested the topic for the WNBA night. We always take fan topics. We love that. We love all support. The socials been going up, so we appreciate everybody out.
And like my man Redman says from out high, you don't like what we have to say? Fuck you.
But great show, like I said, fellas. This has been Cinco Squad episode 113. Squad out.